Welcome. You're listening to Nuditea, a podcast where we get naked with our feelings while drinking tea. I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Wendy. And on this podcast, we talk about life things, travel, sex, adult troubles. And on this episode, we're having our second part of childhood memories. Because this is one of my favorite kinds of episodes that we do.
Wendy solely just wants to make this podcast about this now.
This and talking to people about sex. That's all I want to do for the rest of this podcast.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's start with our teas. Kim?
I'm drinking a tea called Womankind. And I wanted something a little more fruity today. It's a lovely day. I'm feeling summery. So it's got some cranberry, some rose, and some sweet vanilla. It's actually pretty good. I'm not a huge cranberry person. But in tea, I think I'll let it happen.
Yes.
You?
I was just thinking I should be drinking this because I'm on my period. And this is called
Womankind.
Womankind. And I feel like it's supposed to be good for women on their period.
Did you read that? Or you're just like, it's called woman, therefore... It helps
Therefore, periods. I don't know, but this
Magical.
also kind of looks like a vagina. Like this little design up here.
I guess, yeah.
A very open vagina.
Subtle.
AKA me right now because everything is just flushing out. Okay, I am drinking, again, the same as last time, an organic lemon ginger tea. Because...
It's a great combo.
It is. It's the perfect combo. So I wanted to kind of showcase where we got these teas from. We did a spring clean recently. And we ended up with this, which is our grab box of teas. I don't know if you can tell, but this used to say mixed nuts from Costco, and Kim changed it to mixed teas.
Because I'm a genius.
It's amazing, and I love it. Okay, so second round of childhood memories. Who wants to start?
You can start.
I can start. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember which one we decided on. Ball pit.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is actually a relatively short story, and I have a bit of bitterness and resentment related to this story. It was when I was still in China, and I went to this pretty high-class, fancy elementary school.
Okay.
My parents paid big bucks for me to go there because it had really good teachers and they provided lunch, and the lunch was very nutritious, blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
Is this like a private school, or is most education on any level in China, you have to pay for it?
This was... Most education in China you don't have to pay for, but I think for this particular school, because it had so many amenities.
Extra frills.
So many amenities that people... I think there was a tuition fee associated. Honestly, I don't know. I was so small. How was I supposed to know what happened in the background? I just went to school.
Okay.
So, this school, we had a swimming pool, we had we had a ball pit, and not like a baseball pit. It was a literal, you know those at Chuck E. Cheese or whatever, you have all the tiny little balls in one giant pit?
Seriously?
Yes! So that was the kind of pit we had. We had like an arena, we had like a theater. It was a pretty crazy school. Anyway, my story today is related to the ball pit because I was very, very young at that time. We had a family friend and their son was a couple years older than me, and I was pretty dumb when I was a child. I'm gonna be honest. I was a very trusting child, so anything you told me I would believe.
95% of us are dumb
Yes.
at that age.
In China, it's kind of dangerous, though, because you get kidnapped.
That's true.
That's how
and
you
you're
get
a
kidnapped.
female, so extra.
Yeah. We were in this school. I was with this, I'll call him my older brother, because that's just what I called him in Chinese. He was a bit of a prankster. He wasn't very nice to me. I got also bullied a lot by friends. They were friends, but they kind of took advantage of the fact that I was just so dumb.
Oh my goodness. That's reflective of your friend group now. We are so mean.
We're all so mean, but I have also become more savage as I grew up in a bit of a thicker skin.
You adapted, yes.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm a bit smarter now than when I was a young child. But I think this just goes to show how dumb I was back then. So I was at our school with my older brother, and he didn't go to that school. He went to a less fancy school. So I was kind of going around with our parents, and they were giving them the tour and being like, oh, this is Wendy's school, these are the things. And obviously as kids we were like, take us to the ball pit. Me and my older brother went to this ball pit, and we played around, and he threw balls at me, but that's not the point of the story.
What is the point?
We were about to get out of the ball pit and climbing out. It was like a pool, basically. So we were like climbing out of the ball pit, and he was standing on the ledge, and he was like, I can break this ball pit. I was like, what do you mean you can break this ball pit? Don't do that. He's like, if I jump, I'll leave a crack in the ground, and then this ball pit will break. And I was like, oh my God, don't break the ball pit. Because stupid child Wendy was like, this is my school. Like, my parents are getting in trouble. I'll get in trouble. Yeah. Like, my teachers will hate me.
And were you still in the ball pit at this time?
No, we had just climbed out of the ball pit. But it was like, in my brain, child Wendy's imagination was like, if he jumps, then the entire foundation of this ball pit will crack. And then the balls will just flow into like kind of an earthquake situation and just all disappear, and then everyone will come back on Monday and be like, where are the balls to the ball pit? They disappeared. And I'll be like, they earthquaked out. That's where they are. So that was like what was going on in my imagination.
Basically, you thought your older brother was a X-Men.
Yeah, I was real dumb.
Focus his earthquake energy and just... That's fine.
He was like an earthbender to me, basically, in that moment. I was like, it's happening. He's the real deal, guys. And I felt the fear. And so he was like, don't worry. I won't actually break the ball pit, but I want to show you that I can. So he was standing there, and he did like a huge jump. And then he was just like, look. And then he like spread his feet apart at the spot where
there was
jumped,
a crack.
And there was a crack there. And I flipped shit. I was like, this is insane. Like, please, can we just leave? I don't want you to break my school. And then, of course, now, in my later years, I realized that he literally stood on top of a crack, jumped, and then showed me the crack that was already there to make me freak out.
I mean, so hats off to him. Like, that's a pretty good prank for a young kid who wouldn't believe that. I think I wouldn't believe that.
What a dick. What a dick. I was in full panic mode. I was like, I love this ball pit. How dare you?
I thought you would still be in the ball pit and he was going to make it crack. And then you were just
and then we would earthquake into the crack with the balls. Yeah. No, we had gotten out. Point is, the ball pit was totally fine. It was never in danger, and I was just so dumb. Yeah. So dumb. I don't know where our parents were. They just left us in the ball pit by ourselves. I think they went to like tour some other part of the school, and they were like, yeah, you can't drown in a ball pit, so whatever.
You can't?
I mean, you could potentially get smothered if someone tried hard enough. Yeah. Parenting in China is very just, kids are fine. They can do what they want.
And I got the opposite impression.
Kidnapped around every corner.
You think you'd be like a little more on your toes, kidnapped.
I mean, I
should be kidnapped.
This is a, I guess, second follow-up story that's not related. Related to how dumb I was as a child, and also child dangers in China. I went to the supermarket with my mom once, and I literally followed the wrong lady out because I thought she was my mom. And then my mom panicked and had to search for me in the supermarket because 1 second I was behind her, and then the next second I had followed just another auntie the entire way through the supermarket. I don't know if this auntie even noticed I was there, but I was trailing her because I was like, it's my mom.
Well, you left on your own volition. My mother left me in a chapters. She came right back, and I was older, so I was just like, I'll just keep perusing books. She'll notice I'm gone.
And there's so many of you to keep track of.
And I think all of us were out and about in the mall, so it
happens.
It happens.
It happens. Also, it's Canada. So safe. So safe. Chinese supermarkets back in the 90s, 0% safe. All danger, no safety.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. That is my 1.5 stories, I guess.
Okay. So you wanted to hear about the chores we did. There were 6 of us. I half believe that they had this many kids because they had a farm. I'm sure they love us. My parents love us deeply. But there's also that free labor involved.
A small part of her dad's brain was always like, oh yes, another kid, another pair of hands to help on the farm.
And yet he got 4 girls and 2 guys.
Hey, farm girls do a lot too.
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
Yeah.
I actually didn't work on the farm by like milking the cows because we had to be 13, and by that time they sold the farm. I think I mentioned that before. Okay. We did do chores in the backyard, so there was a lot of rock picking, and that was in the fields too, right? That's what kids can do, small rocks, and then they get bigger and they can do the big rocks. So we always had the tractor, and the tractor would have the bucket on it, and we just throw them in, and we hated this. Like, I hate rock picking so much. It's not fun.
So you literally just go through the field and you just pick up all the rocks?
I mean, that's how the things grow, right? Yeah. So, and then my dad, even when we didn't have the farm, he kept kind of expanding our backyard. And when we did that, we had to pick the rock so we could plant the grass seed. At one point, he promised us, this is the last time you will ever pick rock. And we're like, good, okay, I'm done. I'm down for this. We're doing this.
Last rock picking session.
He lied. Maybe not on purpose, but there was definitely more rock picking later. One of my sisters and I, we refused to rock pick after that because we said, you promised us. We're the worst. The other thing, though, we also did wood piling. There was in our backyard, if you can envision it, you've been there. There's this chute. There was a chute that went down into the basement, which is now my dad's office.
Okay.
Okay. That was our wood pile room.
Oh,
so
okay.
we would be, picking up my dad won. Like, we always thought we were working real hard, but he had to cut that thing. He had to, get it to that area. So we would just throw it down the chute, and then when we got down there, we'd then have to stack them against the wall. And that's how we stayed warm during the winter. My younger brother, I don't know what it is about his eyes, but apparently they attract all the dirt in the world when we are specifically doing these chores. Rock picking not as much, but he always got something in his eye. He's the youngest, and he's like, have you seen that 70s show? Mm-hmm. He's the Kelso of the group. Kelso always gets his eye injured when they're fighting or something. My younger brother is the Kelso. Just in that aspect. He's not Kelso in any other aspect. But it would never fail. And then we'd always be like, you're lying. I don't think he was. I think he probably had this phantom piece of wood in his eye.
Maybe he had underdeveloped eyelashes that were just incompetent at keeping
the guys in our
things
family
out.
have great eyelashes. Tell me how that works out.
This always happens. I mean, I'm Chinese, so no one in our race has great eyelashes. But I find that for non-Asians... Actually, no. You know which Asians have great eyelashes? The Indians.
Koreans. Oh, okay.
The Indians' eyelashes are always
yes.
just stretching out to the depths of the universe. Whereas us, it's like, oh, are they there? Are they there?
Just keep your eyes closed as much as possible because your eyelashes are not protecting you.
In the desert, we would not survive. Just, all the time. That was your younger brother.
Yes. And he always ended up getting it in his eye, usually, before we had to go down and start stacking. But he also, once in a while, got down to the stacking wood pile stage and got it there. He didn't always. I say, it's just something that pops in my mind, that whenever we were doing some kind of hard chore, he would get something in his eye.
Okay, I feel like maybe the first couple of times that he got something in his eye, that was probably, actually, he got something in his eye. I feel like after maybe the 4th time, it was bullshit. Because how do you get things in your eye that often?
Maybe he's
at chore time.
Maybe he's touching the wood and then rubbing his eyes because they're itchy.
On purpose. He's like, I don't do this anymore. Just gonna get it all in there.
I don't know.
My eyes so burning.
I don't know if he was vindictive enough to do that.
That's true.
So the other thing about the wood stacking is I believed, my goodness, this is how dumb I was as a kid. My father always got us to keep stacking the wood by saying, there's a special piece of wood in this pile, and you have to find it.
Oh, no.
So we would be stacking, and anything that looked interesting, we'd be like, Dad, is this the special piece of wood? He'd be like, no, it's not. Guess what the special piece of wood was? The final piece of wood every single time. But I had no idea that.
How long did it... When did you realize?
We definitely weren't stacking wood when we got the electrical stuff, and then I figured it out. I think one of my older sisters explained it to me. I was like, oh my goodness. I was probably grade 6, honestly. It's not something that weighed on my mind after we got the electrical heating. Mm-hmm. But later, when I was like, I don't know what the special piece of wood was. I don't understand why. What were we looking for? What is special in my dad's mind? They're all just pieces of wood.
It was just lies.
Yeah.
Lies and betrayal.
That was,
So, did all your siblings hate the rock picking and the wood stacking equally? Did they all hate it as much as you did?
I think we all hated it.
You all hated it.
I mean, it's not fun. No kid wants to go out and pick a field of rock. That's not something. I also didn't like, you got a big lawn, got a lot of trees around, big winds happening. Every spring, gotta go pick those sticks so that we don't run over it with the lawnmower. The one chore I did like was mowing the lawn. Because since we had such a big lawn, always riding lawnmowers. You throw in your music and you just go.
You just ride around.
By the time that my younger brother, me, and then one of my older sisters was still living at home, my oldest sister, who was living there, never mowed the lawn. She didn't want to, but and I were usually pretty fine with it. Had to.
Did he get grass in his eye?
My younger brother.
Did he get grass in his eye?
No, but he had to drive the tractor, which had like all the mowers on the back, so we could cut it as efficiently and as well as possible. And at that point, I didn't know how to drive a tractor. Okay. I do now. So he would be out there longer than I would. I'd be like hour and a half, 2. He'd be like 4 to 5 hours cutting the lawn.
Dang! That's like a huge chunk of time for a kid to be out there.
Yeah. So I know he was a little more frustrated when it was just the 2 of us only cutting the lawn. And my dad hopped in and would cut the lawn. But my older sister, at that point, kind of like one of my other sisters and I with rock picking. We're never doing it again. She never wanted to cut the lawn or something. I don't know.
Wait, but you have multiple older sisters, though.
Yeah.
None of them wanted to mow the lawn?
Well, at this point, it was just the 3 of us living at home.
Oh,
didn't make sense for...
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I see. The other ones had moved on. Okay.
Those are the 3 main yard tasks a country person has to deal with on a regular basis.
Much less idyllic than what I imagine. Because I had a lot of country friends when I was in elementary school and high school, and I would go over to their house and be like, 5 o'clock in the morning, gotta bring your pail and we're gonna go milk some cows. We're gonna go feed the chickens.
I'm glad I never had to do that, though.
I mean, it's true. I mean, for me, because it was a once in a while thing that I got to experience, I would go over for a sleepover, and then they would ask me, oh, you don't have to be up that early to go do these chores. But I'd be like, oh no, I want to see all of the farm life that I can, because I love that stuff. And also, I like cows quite a bit. Maybe because I wasn't actually doing any chores and I was just watching them do it. I was like, this is the most amazing thing. You guys are living the life.
Yeah, I didn't envy the early hours they had to get up and do it. I think the job itself, except for there was like the manure pit and shoveling and stuff that they had to do. Again, not the idyllic
everything just
version.
smells and is pretty dirty and just a lot of early mornings. But I think it's still wonderful. You got a lot of time outdoors.
Around animals, which I'm indifferent to, but
And
that's due to my upbringing, I think, too.
Yeah. Wraps things up. Nice, sweet, and short episode. Exactly what we needed.
After our, 2 hour, we've had 2 episodes that have been at least an hour long.
Yeah.
We try, guys. But, conversations, they keep going. You don't want to stop them.
Sometimes we have so many questions. Our STI one, that was just us spacing out and repeating topics over and over again until we hit an hour and 40 minutes. Never again, never ever again will we do an episode when we're all that dead. Just doesn't end well. We
have busy lives. Sometimes we have to do it at those dead moments. Because
sometimes we're just hungover or diarrhea-ing. It's unavoidable.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Nudity. You can find our episodes, the audio version, on PodBean.com as well as iTunes. I actually checked. It's on Podcast Addict, so I don't know if it's also on Google Play. I don't know if that's just through PodBean. They've also added it to those. I have to check. So it might be on there, too, if you have an Android. And you can also see Wendy's amazing edits if you want to see the video podcast. which there will be some coming up soon. We're having problem with the Disney episode with my friend Dan, and been a time.
The YouTube podcasts are very delayed.
Yes.
But once Disney Dan goes up, then it'll be boom, boom, boom.
You'll be able to binge it. You can also contact us on gmail.com at nuditypodcast@gmail.com. And you can follow us on Instagram at Nuditea Podcast.
You can try to contact us on Gmail.
Or text us.
Or text us, because everyone who listens knows us.
It's true.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.